Sizin okuldan sonra hayatınız var.
Var. Başlıca olaraq onun ən sonuncu lideri Qarbaçov olub, birinci lideri isə Lenin olub. Amma məncə ən yaxşı dövrlər Lenin olmuşdu.
Umutlarınız var, ne bilirsiniz? Rusya imperiyasının süqutundan sonra yaranır. 1922 ve 1991-ci illərdə mövzu oldu. Bəs hansı məlumatlarınız var əsər haqqında?
Çox da məlumat bilmirəm, amma bildiyim qədərilə Azərbaycan, Gürcüstan, Tacikistan kimi ölkələr daxil olmaqla 15 ildə yaranmışdır. Çox sağ olun.
For your opinion, what is the long term of influence of Soviet Union to Azerbaijan?
Yes, Soviet Union's influence can be observed in various ways. For example, political systems, cultural ties, and economical infrastructure. But I think the main one is education, because still we have Russian classes in all schools. So I think like it's the most biggest influence of Russian Empire on us.
Yeah.
Hi, today our group will talk about the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, basically USSR. We will talk about the impact on the world history and Azerbaijan history. The presentation made by me, Toghrul, and Mehin. Firstly, let's look at our plans. First of all, I will give introduction. I will talk about some basic fundamental information about the USSR, its establishment, location, and leaders. Then Mehin will continue, and she will talk about the impact on the world, and she will give some detailed information about the USSR. At the end, Toghrul will talk about the impact on the Azerbaijan history, and he will give a conclusion. Let's start with introduction. Establishment. USSR established on December 13, 1922, following the dissolution of Russian Empire, which had been ruled by the Romanov dynasty over 3 centuries. Okay, how the USSR established? USSR established after the Russian Revolution of 1917. Before this, as I said, Russia was ruled by the Romanov dynasty, by a monarchy, and at that time there was a conflict between government and local people. However, due to widespread discontent and economical hardships, a group known as the Bolsheviks seized the power. The Bolsheviks believed that creating a socialist society where wealthy and power can be shared by all people. And finally, they can create their own government called USSR, and they started to rule the Russia. Okay, let's look at the location. As you can see, there were a lot of territories include the USSR. Geographically, USSR covering a vast expanse part of Eastern Europe and Northern Asia. At that time, it was a largest country stretching from the Baltic Sea in the west and Pacific Ocean in the east. You can see it was very big. And let's look at the leaders. Here you can see all Soviet leaders. USSR existed for 69 years, notwithstanding it had a lot of rulers. But I will talk 5 of them, 5 major ones. First, as I said, Vladimir Lenin came to rule, and he created the USSR. I gave some information about Lenin. That's why I passed to Joseph Stalin. After the death of Vladimir Lenin, Joseph Stalin came to the power. We know this guy from the World War II. Under his rule, the economy and industrialization was developed, but it was also marked by severe repression and widespread purges. After the Joseph Stalin, Nikita Khrushchev came to the power in 1953, and his period known as the de-Stalinization, he said that Stalin was bad ruler for USSR. He cannot control the USSR very well. That's why he started new regime called de-Stalinization. He also known for the Korean missile crisis and his famous show banking incident at the United States. Then Leonid Brezhnev succeeded Khrushchev in 1964 and led the country for almost 2 decades. His era was marked by a period of relative stability known as the Brezhnev era, which focused on maintaining the status quo of Soviet system. Finally, Mikhail Gorbachev. His leadership starting in 1985, he brought significant changes to the USSR. He introduces policies of glasnost and perestroika aimed at modernizing and liberalizing the USSR. He wanted to increase the modern life in the USSR. However, these reforms ultimately contributed to the dissolution of USSR in 1991. That's all for introduction. Now Mehin will continue the impact on the world, on the technologies and
So
etc.
let's start. Within 40 years, the number of foreign students in the USSR increased by more than 20 times, reaching at the eve of the collapse of USSR, thousands of people, which is 10.8% of the global population of foreign students. Students from various countries, especially from the socialist and communist nations, came to the USSR to pursue higher education. Many of them studied in institutions like Moscow State University, Leningrad State University, and other prestigious institutions. Sputnik First. Sputnik First had a profound impact not only the USSR but also USA and other countries and world population by sparking the space race, heightening Cold War tensions, promoting technological and scientific achievements, and increasing global awareness of space exploration and its potential benefits. So let's see what were causes and consequences of the disintegration of the USSR. Firstly, political, social, economic, military, and nuclear factors. Let's start with political. Political factors were Gorbachev reforms mostly, and economic weakness was huge amount of money was spent on the military, and in Eastern Europe was just satellite states. And the consequences, the disintegration of USSR had a far-reaching impact on the global politics, economics, and security. It marked the end of the Cold War, transformed into international order, and had profound effects on the former Soviet republics and their relationship with the rest of the world. And the most immediate consequences was the emergence of 15 independent countries from the Soviet Republic. And these new nations, including Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Kazakhstan, and others, each of these states had to establish their own governments, economic systems, and foreign politics. And transition to market economics, many of the new independent states undertook the challenging transition from certainly planned economies to market-oriented systems. And global politics, the end of the Cold War and disintegration of the USSR contribute to changes in international relations and global politics, including the expansion of NATO and the European Union into Eastern Europe. External production and film industry. As we know, it was highly industrialized country that engaged a wide range of external production like energy sources, raw materials, heavy machinery, industrial equipments, military equipments, and some consumer goods. And the principal Soviets exports are grain products, oil products, fruits, timber, dairy products, manganese ore, oil cake and flax and tone. Film industry. Uh, there was censorships and state control in the USSR. The state exercised tight control over the film industry, and scripts and content had to adhere the state-approved ideological guidelines, and many films were subject to censorships. But there were some popular film genres, and like Soviet cinema covered a wide range of genres, including historical epics, war films, science fiction, romantic dramas, and comedies. Uh, it contributed significantly to global cinematic culture, despite the challenges like Soviet cinema had a complex relationship with the state, and while it was often used as a propaganda tool, it also produced many artistic and influential works. And uh, the legacy of Soviet cinema continues to influence Russian and also international filmmaking to this day also. And it is appreciated and studied today by many of the people. Now my groupmate Toghrul will continue.
Thanks, Mehin. Now let's see how USSR influenced Azerbaijan. To better understand the influence of USSR to Azerbaijan, we first have to have a quick historical tour on major events. The first event that I would like to mention is Turkmenchai Treaty. It happened in 1828. It was a treaty between Russia and Iran, which divided Azerbaijan into two parts, North and South Azerbaijan. Then we have a collapse of Russian Empire. It happened in 1817, and also it was mentioning that in this period we had our independence since May 1918 to April 1920. But after Bolsheviks have taken our independence, we joined USSR, which later collapsed in 1991. So now we can proceed with positive and negative impacts of USSR. Let's start with positive ones. Increased literacy. Increased literacy happened because USSR have had a major emphasis on areas such as education, healthcare. It also promoted in equality, gender equality, which also lead to gender equality among workplaces and education. Then urbanization. Urbanization happened as a result of industrialization. Scientific development happened as a result of increased literacy. Some scientific areas, such as space exploration and other fields, were developed by USSR. And the last but not least is cultural exchange. The cultural exchange was maintained between 15 countries of USSR, which also has had a positive impact on Azerbaijan. Now let's see which negative influence have USSR had on Azerbaijan. First of all is loss of independence. As we joined USSR, we of course lost our independence, loss of national identity, inherited conflicts. Inherited conflicts, as an example, we can say Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, and then Zengezur conflict was also one of them. Economic dependence, political repression. At this time, the political repression was maintained. Yeah, so political repression led to the lack of freedom, and exploitation of natural resources. Now I would like to conclude our presentation with a great quote of Maya Angelou, which says, "The more you know of your history, the more liberated you are." So stay safe and learn your history. And those are our resources. Thanks.